All
everyone.
right. Oh, go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar today, How to Optimize Your Field Services in 2021. Please note that all lines are currently on mute and will remain on mute. If you have any questions, please enter them within the chat box and we will address them during the Q&A period at the end of the presentation. With that in mind, I'd now like to introduce Jessica, who will begin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're excited to be here today. So we'll quickly kick it off with our agenda, and then we'll run through some introductions here. So we have John and I on the line, which I will introduce next. But today what we're going to show you is a few of these items that I have here on the screen. We'll go through the purpose of why we're meeting here today and what we're going to be showing you. We'll take you through a bit of a story to give you some context, put it in perspective before we go into a deep dive of what a solution should look like when you're considering, and then also some considerations to think about when thinking about a digital solution for your field workers. Then we'll talk about some next steps and have some time for questions. So, hello everyone. I'd like to introduce John and I. We have John McDonald on the line as well. He is our managing director here in North America, so it's an absolute treat to have him with us today. I'm Jessica Turnblom. I am from our business development team here at ExpandIT. And what I'll also do is kind of run through a very brief background on ExpandIT so you know a little bit about us and who your presenters are today. So ExpandIT, we've been around for a while now, over 20 years. We were founded in Copenhagen. And what we've been doing is our field service solution. That's what we do, is field service. So our core product today is a solution for mobile workers. We have about 4,000 customers globally with offices across North America and Europe. So we're able to provide that local support. And since 1998, ExpandIT has been working with our worldwide partner network with great partners like BAS to deliver solutions tailored to meet customers' needs. All of our solutions are Microsoft Dynamics ISV certified, and we are a Microsoft certified Gold ISV. What we do is we optimize operations and help you get the right people to the right place at the right time with the parts and equipment to get the job done right. While at the same time, we help eliminate paperwork and redundant reporting and manual administrative work that nobody really likes. So that's what we're going to show you today, how to optimize your field services in 2021. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to John, who's going to kick it off with, take us through some terminology that we're going to be using today in our presentation.
Great, thank you, Jessica. Let me start by saying how excited I am to be here today, and really want to thank the team from BAS Business Solutions for facilitating this. It's a pleasure to speak today and to be a part of this. So first off, I've been working in this business now for a while, so Jessica asked me to share just some of the background and terminology to set this up. Well, one of the first things that we want to do is define some of the wording and terminology we're going to use. So you may see Jessica or I refer to something as a job. Really what we're talking about is a work order that's being done by a field worker when they're out in the field repairing or installing something. Sometimes we'll refer to that as a job. That's often an ERP or accounting specific term, so just wanted to get that out of the way. We'll also talk about a work order. So the work order is actually the job or the work that the field service technician or the field worker actually does. They're usually working against some sort of a work order that could be created from a financial system or an ERP system, or potentially created from a field service solution. We'll talk about the worker, and sometimes we'll refer to them as a technician, sometimes as a field worker, but at a high level, this is the person getting the hard work done every day, whether they're installing something or repairing something. You may hear us refer to them as a technician or a field worker. Depending on the industry, they go by many different names and backgrounds. And then we'll refer to somebody in your office, sometimes called a dispatcher or a planner. So this is the person that is doing the scheduling, the planning of the work. They're often, again, working in the office, and they're thinking about how to get the right people to the right jobs with the right equipment. So with that, maybe we'll move on and talk a little bit about some of the stakeholders that a solution like ours supports. So the first one, and maybe one of the most important stakeholders, is your organization, your company. You care about having super satisfied, happy customers. You want them to be thrilled with the products that they bought and the after-sales service and support that you provide. You want to have productive and happy employees that want to come to work and feel that they're getting great support and tools from your organization. But most importantly, you need to make sure that you have a profitable operation. While the technician, that's the person getting the work. These individuals, they care intimately in doing great work for your customers. They just want to have the right tools to get time to get their work done efficiently and make sure that they can move on to the next job appropriately and get their work done on time. The dispatcher, as I said, that's the person in the office. They again really care about making sure that there's a seamless communication process between themselves and the end customer. I mean, these are the individuals that are getting the call from your customer when things maybe aren't going so well. So these individuals, they tend to be passionate about customer satisfaction. And again, they want to have the tools and systems that they need so that they can, do the best work they can for your end customers. And finally, the final stakeholder, well, that's the end customer. And really what they're looking for, these are your customers, are, they want reliable, speedy, efficient service. They're looking for someone to come on site and be able to fix it the first time and to have the right tools and materials and equipment and parts to get the job done right. They're looking for them to be informed before they come on site so that they can know, in advance what the obstacles might be when they have to face when they're addressing an installation or a services project. So with that, maybe I'll talk a little bit about kind of why we're here today. So we're hoping that, at the end of this, you'll be able to better understand how a integrated digital solution can help provide value for your organization, your workers, and your customers, all the stakeholders that we talked about. We hope that you'll walk away with a good understanding of some of the key benefits of a mobile field service solution, and also be able to have some awareness of some of the considerations that you might need to be aware of before you embark either on an implementation or on a selection or evaluation of a mobile field service solution. So let's take a look at what a typical day might look like for one of your customers. So this certainly does not tell the whole story, but what it's meant to do is to give you a sense of just how hard it is and how challenging it is to deliver a seamless service experience. So typically what we see is an inbound phone call or an email will come to your organization. Somebody in the office, maybe a dispatcher, will receive that call or email, and they have that job of assigning the right field technicians to the right job and making sure that they get that person with the right skills, experience, and equipment on site to the job. We're often seeing this being done in a very manual process today, maybe in Excel or on a whiteboard or sometimes on a piece of paper. Often what will happen today is the field workers or the technicians will physically have to come into the office every day and check some sort of a board or talk to whoever's in charge of dispatching to find out, where they need to go for their first job. So, and from there, they might actually then, pick up the parts that they need, get in their vehicle and head out for the day. And who knows, they may or may not arrive at the right location if they don't have the right information. Often the customer will want to make sure that that technician, arrives at the right work location, enters through the right door. They may or may not, receive a call from the end customer telling them that, we need you to arrive at a different work location that day than what was originally scheduled. So we often see communications break down in the workflow. We often see then, as that field worker is en route or maybe at the site, they may need to communicate with the field worker. Perhaps there's some new safety procedures that they have to consider related to COVID-19, or maybe there's some additional information that needs to be provided to support the technician while they're on the job. In any event, hopefully they get in the office and start work. At this point, the field worker starts to, fill in, their safety paperwork. That is typically, or has typically been done, on paper. And from there, they often start work. Maybe they start recording the materials and the time that they consume. They often write that down on a piece of paper today, and then finish the job. At some point, maybe in a perfect world at the end of the day, but more likely at the end of the week, or even worse, that technician will drop that paperwork back at the office. Somebody in accounting will try to or attempt to manually enter that information. Often cases that happens weeks, if not months, after the work is being done. That is entered into some sort of an accounting system. A job completion report is sent, probably an invoice, and hopefully it's accurate. So as you can see, this process is a great one and is wide open for a true digital transformation. It's a great example of a process that can be dramatically improved with tools, mobile and digital tools. So I'll pass it back to Jessica, and what she's going to do at a high level is articulate how and what digital tools are available today to support and to improve and to optimize this process.
That's great. Thanks, John. That was a great narrative to kick us off here and put things into perspective. So what we'd like to do for the next 10, 15 minutes is, take you through a digital transformation vision, what we think that looks like. We've seen, as John mentioned, significant opportunity for field-based organizations to reduce errors in the work that they do every day and improve customer service and customer satisfaction, and as you can see here, lower cost. And ultimately improve profitability. So let's see how that might happen. The first step is the creation of the digital work order. So that's what you can see here, and you can see what it might look like. And the first thing to note is that the data in this digital work order needs to come from a common data source, and ideally from your existing financial system. So here you can see the dispatchers creating a job or a work order, and you can see they have access to service items that are ideally coming out of the end customer's financial system. So what you can see is they create the service order here, again, 6 different service items. In this case, they're going out to install a call bell system at a hospital. So they're going to do some work on some switches, some computers, and the key thing here is that the office worker is able to schedule and dispatch a work order digitally. So the next component is a visual graphical planning and scheduling board. And here's an example of what that might look like. So the idea is that once the work order is created, which we just saw, the scheduler or the dispatcher is able to see their resources, and they have access to North America or by division, which you can see here on the left. And those resources could be people or equipment, and they're able to graphically schedule for the week or for the month. So they're able to move those work orders that you can see here around and make sure they have the right skilled resource doing the right type of work. And that's one of the great benefits of you can see the status here. You can see we have one in red, and that means that it's marked urgent for Martin over here. So Martin, the field tech, can also see that on his end, and it alerts him that this is an urgent job that needs immediate attention. So there's another view as well, and the other key benefit of a scheduling tool is the integration to a visual mapping tool. So you can see our little Lego people here. They're meant to signify your field workers out in the field. You can see where they are, whether they're leaving their home in the morning, whether they're already at the job, and you're able to very quickly see which workers have the right skills or who has the right equipment to address a job that needs to be scheduled. So again, when you're evaluating and looking for a digital tool for your mobile workforce, I encourage you to make sure that there's a visual scheduling tool and make sure that that's something the solution has, as well as a visual mapping tool like this. Especially as your organization grows and your field techs grow, this is really, really important. So we also want to take a quick look here at messaging. And the next thing that I'm going to show you here is, from a scheduling perspective, the ability to for the office worker to communicate in real time with the field worker. So here's an example of what that might look like. You should expect the scheduler to be able to send emails or text messages instantly to the field worker, and they should be able to see those on their mobile device. So here you can see an example of the scheduler. They're letting John know that they have had to reschedule his last visit for the day. So again, that real-time change in communication is an important part of what you should expect from a scheduling perspective. Next thing I want to highlight is the importance of a mobile client for the mobile worker. So this is an essential component of any mobile installation or service solution. And we want to note a few key things here. The mobile client, number one, it should be able to run online or offline, because in many cases there's workers in remote access and remote areas, and they might not have cell access or mobile access. So they need to be able to carry on with their work even if they're not connected to a mobile network. Secondly, the mobile solution should be able to run on multiple form factors. So for example, a laptop, a tablet, of any mobile device. And thirdly, in a perfect world, we're able to run on any mobile device operating system. So in today's world of BYOD, bring your own device, that's very frequent. So you want to make sure it works across iOS, Android, any kind of operating system. So an ideal field worker, they should be allowed to work from any device and any form factor. But before we move on, one of the most important things is that the mobile client should be able to essentially replace the paper that the field workers are having to use today that's full of errors and inefficiencies. So they should be able to, on this mobile device, capture travel time, work time, consumption of materials, all in real time immediately as they're working on the job. That's really the best way to eliminate errors, is to capture time and materials right away in real time. So a mobile device allows that to happen. And next, we want to highlight that the mobile device, it needs to be integrated to the ERP system. On the left, what you can see an example of is the mobile worker being able to see the service history in real time. So perhaps they go on site to fix something and they go to check the work that's been done in the past. They can do that, and they can look at the history of this particular client or the service item before they go on site. So that's really valuable. The other thing that's really important is that the mobile device should allow you to eliminate any paper checklists, compliance reports, safety reports that are really common with the field worker today. So they should be able to replace those and do them digitally on the mobile device. As you can see here, an example on the right, this is a checklist report example. So as they're working through their work order, they're able to capture, a number of key questions, images, and even a signature out in the field, as you can see here, which really eliminates the need for inefficiencies that are common with paper documents, as we've discussed. So the next thing that I would highlight is that the information needs to flow both ways. So not only does the mobile worker need to get the information from the ERP to do the job effectively, which we've discussed, that information needs to flow back to the office. So here you can see an example of the mobile worker working through their task. And in this case, they're installing a washing machine and a dryer. And the office worker or the dispatcher, they're able to see the status of the work being done in the field. And that allows the worker to be really efficient and thoughtful about coordinating and scheduling the next job for the mobile worker. So that's what it allows the dispatcher to do. And then we want to talk about the manager approval. So the next thing that you should expect in a digital solution for your mobile workforce is manager approvals. So here you can see an example of a screenshot here, and it would allow a service manager or a scheduler to review the work either on a daily or a weekly basis as it's happened in the field. So not only can they review it, but they can also amend hours, they can make changes, modify reports prior to information going back into the financial system for invoicing. So this is another key thing to look for when considering a service solution for your organization. And the final step here that we're going to take a look at is the solution sending the information back into your accounting financial system for invoicing. So, we believe that we want to let your financial system do what it does best. So here you can see an example of a Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. And the point is that the field-based solution should be able to send that data back into the accounting solution for invoicing. And that really completes the process. So that's a full circle of the process. And with that, that's our very high level deep dive of what you should be looking for. And I'm going to pass it back to John now to discuss some considerations.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So Jessica asked me to share some things to consider if you're evaluating or looking to implement a field service solution. One of the first, and I think one of the most important considerations, is whether you can accommodate or whether you're looking for a fixed scope and best practices based solution, or whether you're looking for a solution that matches your specific practices. It's interesting. We've been doing this for over 20 years. And what we have found is that 95% of businesses that do installation and service work have a very similar business process. And it was actually highlighted pretty well by Jessica. A work order is created either in the field service system or in the accounting or ERP system. It's assigned to a worker. That resource then goes out and performs work, consuming time and materials. The work order gets completed. They may or may not return at a later date. Information is then communicated back to the accounting system for invoicing, and then a resource is assigned to the next job or work order. So based on that, we've actually discovered that a fixed scope and best practices solution is frequently a very good choice for many businesses. Well, one of the things that we see though is that, you need to take a look internally at your own business processes first. We see really one of three things. We see the vast majority of prospects and customers and people that we consult with that are absolutely, interested and keen to modify their existing business to follow a best practices approach. They see that it generally delivers really high value, a quick implementation. However, we also see some customers that perhaps they've got a few elements that might deviate a little bit. And what they're looking for is some minor configuration. And then the third option that we see, which is less frequent today, is that there are some businesses that truly have some really unique business processes that are unique. Maybe they derive some sort of competitive advantage. But we do still see those instances where companies have a process in the field that is truly unique. So generally, you're going to fit into one of these three buckets, if you will. So, if you're unsure, what I would offer is, talk to an expert. Companies like ours, we have business analysts that can spend time with you up front and help you, take a look at the pros and cons of the various options. Where's the best value for you as an organization, not just today, but moving forward in the future. The next consideration I would share with you is, how is your software for your field service organization, how is it going to integrate to all the other systems and tools that you've already invested in or considering investing in? For example, one of the most important is the accounting or the ERP system. Most customers will rely on the accounting system to handle invoicing and to maintain customer-specific pricing and inventory. So it's critical that a field service solution is able to integrate back to that in some fashion so that you can have a common data source. You may also want to integrate to other tools, such as business intelligence tools, so that you can get a view of your organization, not just what happens in the field, but also what happens throughout your organization. So this is important for you to consider up front. And what I would say is some products come with a standard integration to the most common ERP and accounting products. There's a significant value, I think, for a lot of customers in looking at a solution with a standard integration. What it means is the software vendor has already invested upfront in building that integration, and they will not only support that integration, but they're going to maintain that integration into the future. What I'd also say is be aware that there are best of breed field service tools that may not have a standard integration to your other systems, accounting systems and business intelligence systems. Just be aware that you should anticipate and budget for significant costs to build that custom integration, but also to maintain it in the future. So the next consideration that I'd share, and this is becoming, quite frankly, less of an issue, but it has been a consideration, certainly for the last 5 years, is how you're going to deploy your field service solution. Traditionally, software, 5-6 years ago was deployed on premise, and you had to manage your servers, and you had to worry about software updates and deployments and upgrades. Well, the world has changed dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years, and now it's becoming more common for solutions and software products to be delivered as a service, often referred to as software as a service or as a managed subscription. The benefit of that deployment scenario is that somebody else, usually the vendor, they have to take care of all the hardware. They have to maintain the integrations, the updates, and deployments. That often eliminates a lot of hassle for your end customer and for yourself. You don't have to worry about maintaining, systems. It allows you to focus on your core business, improve agility and scalability, and not have to worry about things that are really outside your area of expertise. The next consideration that I would highlight has to do with predominantly with your hardware and your mobile devices. A big part of a field service solution are the mobile devices that your field workers or your technicians are going to use. Actually, Jessica talked a lot about that. We're seeing today that some companies are equipping their workers with mobile devices. Others are expecting their mobile workers to bring their own device. So it's just something that you need to consider about kind of what strategy you want to take. The other thing you need to think about is, do you want to standardize on one particular mobile platform? That may or may not be possible, especially if you expect your employees to bring their own devices. For that reason, you may need to look at a mobile architecture that is flexible and agile and supports all of the mobile platforms. The next thing to consider is your timeline. Timeline often has a lot to do with business value and return on investment. It's quite frequent that when people are evaluating a solution like this, they are looking to get as quick an ROI as possible. Well, a few things to think about is that for sure a fixed scope, fixed price solution can be delivered a lot quicker than a customized solution. So I would say that that probably has the biggest impact on your return on investment and shortening up your timeline. The second thing I would say is that whenever you are implementing a field service solution at the same time as a significant process change and at the same time as an ERP implementation, just expect that that's going to introduce greater complexity. And it's going to extend the amount of time you need to budget for to get all these systems figured out and live and working in the field. In a best case scenario, you should anticipate not weeks, but instead months to get a solution, out in the field working for your workers. The other thing I would share, having been involved in a lot of different decisions and selection cycles, is, who do you include when you're considering and evaluating technology like this for your field-based organization? Well, at the highest level, my advice is to be as broad as you can and get as many different opinions and viewpoints into the process. It's not uncommon when you're selecting technology systems to have your IT team and your executive team involved. That's important because you want to understand the vision and make sure that whatever systems you put in place can match your existing IT infrastructure. But our real advice is, consult with your solutions or your ERP partner. Their consultants are integral to helping you make a great decision. So that's where we always say, get the people from BAS Business Solutions involved early as they can provide great insight in helping you figure out what is the right solution for your business. Then I would say is get some feedback from your workers, especially the planners, the people in the office that are scheduling the work every day, the service managers that are out in the field working with the team, delivering and installing products. And most importantly, get some input from the field technicians. Understand their needs, their frustration, their preferences. Getting their adoption and getting their buy-in in a decision is going to be crucial. So I guess one maybe last thing to consider, I'm sure that there's other considerations as well, is where you're going to get your support and services. So, there are some things to consider. One thing to consider is the product and the vendor that you're buying from, are they local? Are they able to help you locally implement a solution? Are they even in your time zone too? It's often, a real advantage to be able to work with a team that are, maybe they're not local, but at the very least they're in your time zone. As I talked about, you do need to consider also other things like, does the solution, is it multilingual? Does it support the languages that my workers use in? In our case, we have many cases of examples where their workers are doing work in both English and French in Canada, or in the US, Spanish is a frequent language in the US. So make sure that you take a look at the software that you're buying and making sure that it can accommodate the languages that your workers are working in every day and what your customers are working in. So those are a couple of the key considerations that I'd share with you at a high level if you're considering or evaluating process improvement or looking at software for your mobile workers in the field. So with that, I'll pause. Thank you again for your time today and for having us, and I'll let Jessica wrap this up.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. Thank you. So those were some great considerations. We had a big long list there, and big list to keep in mind. And what we've done is we've taken this list and we've consolidated it into a one-pager. So we're happy to share that after this with the BAS team, and they can share it with you. And it's a lot of information to take in, and we went through this quite quickly to not take up too much of your time. And like we said, it's very high level. So, we're always happy to jump on a call with you and kind of work through some of these considerations, or help assess if a mobile solution is the right fit for your organization. So we're happy to be contacted, at any time. And with that, I think that we'll open the floor up to any questions.
I do have some questions here already, and just a reminder, if you do have any, just to type them within the question box. So the first one I have is, what industries are most common for field service?
That's a great question. Oh, you can see both of us now. Yeah, absolutely. So what we see is a lot of companies don't associate themselves as field service companies, or they wouldn't put themselves in that category. So what we see is a very wide variety of industries. We see, medical, agricultural, manufacturers, electrical. In HVAC, we have machine, they service hydraulics or maybe systems or pumps. We have wide variety of customers in commercial roofing, landscaping, architectural design. An example that maybe wouldn't come to mind is, in agricultural, we have vets that come out. We have a vet company, and they service large animal feedlots. So that's something that you don't see every day. They might not think of themselves as field service, but they are workers out in the field. They're not in an office. So that's really any company that kind of fits into that category. As well, we have, we've seen energy, so traditional carbon industries like oil fields. Those are really picking up right now with the price of oil. We see a lot of green energy too within the last 10 years, like solar. So it's really any company that's highly skilled, when they have highly skilled techs going out for complicated jobs, or the possibilities are endless, really. John, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered it off really well. It's actually quite broad. As Jessica said, after having done this for 20 years, we've seen almost every imaginable industry. And as you said, well, a lot of them don't see themselves primarily as services companies, although some do that, such as HVAC or elevator companies. But a lot of them are, as you highlighted, they're manufacturers. They're manufacturing something, and then they're going out to install it and service it after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question.
The next question I have here is, from a planning board, can you usually schedule anything other than people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we touched on that very quickly, but it really is planning resources. So, you can schedule any of your resources, or you should be able to do that on a planning board. So in addition to people, you can schedule equipment as well. So maybe you have, 2 cranes, and they need to go from one site to another. So the board really allows you to schedule them and instantly know where they are at all times, which site they're on. So you can schedule much more than just people. It's really any kind of resource, and they can be categorized, by division or by location as well. So however you'd like to group your resources, or however you'd like to schedule, or whoever you'd like to schedule, whatever you'd like to schedule, you should be able to do that. John, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, just one thing I'd add is one of the advantages of a system like ours that has a standard integration to the most common ERP or accounting systems is all those resources, they are maintained in your ERP. So there's one source of data. So those machines that you're scheduling, or those people that you're scheduling to go do work, those resources get maintained in the ERP system. And I think that's important. So there's that one source of data when it comes to kind of resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question.
And the last question I have here is, could dispatchers in the office theoretically contact customers as well as in a solution like this?
Yep, absolutely. The planner, the dispatcher should be able to contact customers directly from the planning board. So, if a technician is running late from a previous job, the dispatcher can let the homeowner know that he's going to be 15 minutes late, and that's just one of the features that helps improve customer satisfaction because customers don't like waiting. We all know that, and they're really appreciative of any updates. So it allows them to plan out their day too, and they like being updated at all times, and that can happen with a tool like this. So, absolutely the dispatcher can contact the customer. John, is there anything that you would add?
Well, I think you covered it off pretty well. The only thing I'd add is that there's no doubt that the world of work has changed dramatically in the last 18 months as we've adjusted, to working remotely. We see a lot of our customers where, their service technicians, they're not coming into the office or to the depot to pick up their parts and materials on a daily basis. So any capabilities that can improve communication between the dispatchers in the office and your field workers is really important. It really supports this new world of work. So we've seen undoubtedly that the world has changed, and any tools that improve communication between your frontline workers, your mobile workers, and the people in the office is a significant productivity enhancement, but also an enhancement that supports employee satisfaction.
Yep, that's good. Good answer, John. It was a great question.
It does look like that's all the questions that we have. So with that being said, I would just like to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy day to attend, as well as John and Jessica for presenting. And everyone will receive an email with the recording when it becomes available. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us, Bass. We really appreciated having the opportunity to present and talk about field service in 2021.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.